What if I told you that you didn't choose this video at all, that your arrival here isn't a coincidence, but an echo of future reality already unfolding in the quantum field? People think they stumble upon messages like this through luck or an algorithm, but that's old thinking. The truth is, the algorithm that brought you here isn't from your phone. It's the subtle electromagnetic pull of your own future self, tugging on the invisible tow rope that's been guiding you through numbers that repeat, encounters that feel scripted, and thoughts that appear out of nowhere. You can call it quantum physics, intuition, or sheer cosmic weirdness. Doesn't matter. What matters is that you're here because a part of you already knows where you're going. And here's the twist most people never catch. The universe doesn't respond to what you want, it responds to what you've already become energetically. That's the real quantum entrainment happening behind the scenes. So if this message found you, it's not because you're searching, scrolling, or hoping, it's because you're being found. Your energetic signature shifted enough for this reality to tune itself to you, like a cosmic tuning fork finally vibrating in coherence with your next timeline. This moment is simply the sound of your frequency echoing back to you. That's why it feels familiar, almost like you've heard it before in a dream or déjà vu loop you can't quite explain. Most people think manifestation starts with desire, effort, repeating affirmations, or trying to attract something through force. But this video is your first nudge that you've already crossed a threshold. Something in you changed, quietly, subtly, deeply. And now reality is rearranging itself to match that internal shift. That's why this message carries that strange blend of calm recognition and subtle inevitability. It's not hype, it's not chance, it's alignment. A gentle whisper from the quantum field saying, "You've already stepped into the new frequency. Now, pay attention." And as you feel that, notice what's happening in your body right now. The slight warmth in your chest, the quiet settling in your breath. That's your somatic truth kicking in. That's your inner compass confirming, yes, this is for you. Not because you're chasing a sign, but because the sign has finally caught up with you. And this is only the first ripple. There's a deeper layer waiting, one that explains why you've been feeling stretched between timelines, why your mind says you're stuck, while your soul swears something massive is unfolding just beneath the surface. There's a very specific kind of exhaustion that shows up right before a quantum leap. And if you've been feeling it, you're not imagining things. It's the exhaustion of someone living between worlds, one foot anchored in the timeline you've outgrown, and the other already stepping into the electromagnetic field of a reality your future self has been calling you toward. It's why your body feels tired even when you're not doing much. It's why your mind feels restless even when nothing dramatic is happening. This is not burnout. It's not lack of discipline. It's soul fatigue, the friction created when your frequency is updating faster than your life can rearrange around it. People usually think this tension is proof that they're failing. They meditate, visualize, repeat affirmations, and still feel like they're shouting into a soundproof room. Nothing bounces back, no confirmation, no progress, just static. But here's the truth a lot of teachers skip. That silence isn't the universe ignoring you, it's the universe recalibrating around your new energetic signature. That in-between state, where the old identity is dissolving but the new one hasn't fully landed yet, creates a temporary dissonance. Your thoughts start belonging to the new timeline, but your environment still mirrors the old one. Your desires feel expansive, but your circumstances feel tight, and that mismatch is exactly what creates the ache. You might notice it in tiny moments, feeling out of place in conversations you used to love, sensing that familiar routines feel strangely lifeless, or catching yourself dreaming differently, thinking in new shapes, craving things you can't logically explain. That's the quantum field tugging you forward, whispering, "Don't attach here anymore." The old world starts feeling too small, not because you're failing, but because you're growing. The pain isn't punishment, it's evidence. It's the vibration of a reality loosening its grip on you. That's why your system feels stretched, like you're standing in a doorway too long. No longer inside, not yet fully outside. And if it feels like you're walking through fog, half awake in a dream you can't interpret, that's exactly what it means to be in transit between timelines. The mind hates this stage because it can't measure it or control it, but your body knows. Your chest tightens when you slip back into old patterns. Your breath softens when you resonate with something aligned with your future self. Your body has become the lie detector, guiding you with somatic truth while your logical mind scrambles to rationalize the shift. This tension is not a glitch. It's the first undeniable sign that a new frequency is already weaving itself into your reality. And what comes next is the moment you realize the universe hasn't been silent at all. There's a moment in every quantum transition when the universe stops feeling distant and starts feeling responsive, almost conversational. And whether you've noticed or not, you're in that moment right now. The biggest misunderstanding people carry is the idea that nothing is happening yet. But if this message is reaching you, then the quantum leap didn't begin today. It began the moment your frequency shifted enough for the field to register a new pattern. The universe doesn't wait for perfect technique or flawless affirmations. It responds the second your vibration becomes coherent. And that coherence has already occurred. This video isn't the beginning of your manifestation journey. It's the first physical confirmation that you're in the middle of it. Think of it like a signal traveling across a vast electromagnetic field. You sent out a frequency, maybe in a moment of clarity, surrender, or raw honesty. And instead of echoing back as silence, it was absorbed, translated, and woven into a new timeline. The signs, synchronicities, repeated numbers, and the quiet inner nudges you felt recently, they're not hints of what might happen. They're echoes of future reality, ripples from a version of you that already exists and is already living the experience you're calling in. You're not waiting for life to catch up. Life is waiting for you to recognize that it already has. Most people assume the universe responds slowly, as if it needs time to process requests. But in the quantum field, the response is immediate. The delay you feel is not cosmic lag, it's energetic acclimation. Your mind takes time to accept what your frequency has already decided. Your nervous system needs space to integrate the upgrade. Your environment needs moments to reassemble itself around your new electromagnetic resonance. This phase is like opening a new channel on a radio. The signal is already broadcasting, but your inner dial is still finding the exact point of clarity. And the fact that you're hearing this message now means the static is dissolving, the channel is clearing, you're aligning. If you pay attention, you'll notice a strange familiarity rising inside you. Not excitement, not hope, but recognition. That quiet sense of, oh, this was already on its way. That's your higher self leaking through the cracks of your old identity. It's the invisible confirmation that you're not trying to manifest something distant, you're remembering something inevitable. This video isn't encouragement, it's evidence. Evidence that the shift has already happened, and your reality is rearranging itself accordingly. And from here forward, the game no longer revolves around desire, it revolves around tuning. Because the next step is understanding that you don't attract the future, you're being pulled by it. Here's where everything shifts. You're not attracting anything, you're tuning. That single distinction changes the entire architecture of manifestation. Most people are stuck in the old law of attraction mindset, trying to pull something toward them through wanting, asking, visualizing, begging the universe to notice. But wanting is a frequency of lack, and lack can't pull in abundance. What actually happens in the quantum field is far simpler and far more powerful. You tune your vibration to the timeline where your desire already exists, and you merge with that reality. You don't chase it, you match it. You don't attract what you want, you tune into what you already are. Imagine yourself as a radio tower. Your energetic signature is constantly broadcasting a signal, and the quantum field simply mirrors that signal back to you. Not because it judges, rewards, or punishes, but because that's how coherent frequencies behave. When your internal field becomes stable, steady, and coherent, reality has no choice but to shift into resonance. You're not summoning anything through effort, You're aligning with a version of yourself that already exists in the quantum physics sense of infinite timelines. Every time you feel a spark of déjà vu, a pull in your chest, or a quiet moment of recognition, that's your future self tapping you on the shoulder, saying, "You're getting closer. Stay here." This is why trying harder never works. Trying implies separation. Tuning implies unity. When people visualize obsessively, repeat affirmations with desperation, or try to force a manifestation, they unknowingly amplify the vibration of, "I don't have it." But when you tune, through somatic truth, inner calm, and nervous system coherence, you slip into the frequency of, "This is already mine," and the quantum field reorganizes instantly. That's the real meaning of quantum entrainment. Reality follows coherence, not craving. You're not pulling your dream in by force. You're syncing with the electromagnetic field where your dream is already normal. And if you've noticed that lately nothing external has changed but you have, that's the sign. Because tuning always happens internally first. Your emotions soften, your mind quiets, your reactions weaken, your energy stabilizes. That's the inner click of alignment, the moment the dial lands on the exact channel. And once you land on that frequency, you start to feel the first subtle echoes of future reality coming back. Synchronicities, strange timing, intuitive nudges, inner confirmations. Not because you're attracting something far away, but because you're finally tuned to what was calling you all along. And those echoes are about to get louder. When the tuning locks in, something almost eerie begins to happen. Reality starts echoing back to you, not as coincidences, but as resonance. That's what most people call synchronicities. Repeated numbers, perfectly timed messages, strangers saying exactly what you were thinking, conversations that feel scripted, inner whispers that match outer events. But these aren't predictions or hints. They're echoes of future reality, ripples from the timeline where your desire is already lived, already normalized, already part of your identity. These echoes don't come from the past, they come from the future. They arrive because your electromagnetic field is finally similar enough to that future version of you for the signal to bleed through. You can feel the difference in your body. When an echo shows up, it doesn't trigger adrenaline or anxious excitement. Instead, it brings a strange, grounding familiarity, a soft, "Oh, there it is," rather than a hyped "finally." That's because echoes aren't promises, they're previews. Think of them like the light from a star. What you're seeing now is a message emitted long ago in linear time, even though in quantum time, it's all happening now. Your future self has already stepped into the life you're calling in, and the signals you're receiving are simply the afterglow of that reality touching the one you're still stepping out of. And those echoes are about to get louder. And if lately you've been seeing more synchronicities than usual, that's not a spiritual phase or a cute cosmic wink. It's a sign that the membrane between timelines is thinning. It means you're stabilizing in the new frequency and your old identity has less gravitational pull. The echoes get louder not because you're manifesting harder, but because you're resonating clearer. They're the first signs that the invisible architecture of your new reality is already in place. And soon, those echoes will stop feeling like signs and start feeling like everyday life, especially when you notice what or who is tugging the rope from the other side. There's a moment in every awakening when you realize you're not walking toward your future is pulling you. And that pull isn't metaphorical, it's energetic, electromagnetic, and unmistakably real. Think of it as an invisible tow rope attached to your future self, stretched across timelines, quietly guiding you through every intuitive nudge, every moment of clarity, every synchronicity that feels too perfect to be random. This pull isn't forceful, it's subtle, like a gentle magnetic drift that keeps steering your awareness toward people, ideas, and situations that match the frequency of who you're becoming. You feel it in those moments when you can't explain why you crave change, why you've outgrown certain behaviors, why certain doors suddenly stop feeling like options. That's the rope tightening, not to drag you, but to align you. The invisible tow rope shows up in the smallest moments, like when you think of someone out of nowhere and they contact you minutes later, when you're drawn to a book you wouldn't normally read, and its message feels like it was written specifically for you. When a sudden insight drops into your mind with the weight of absolute truth, even though you have no idea where it came from. These are not random sparks of intuition. They're pull signals, micro adjustments from a timeline where you are already living in coherence with your highest frequency. It's your future self adjusting your navigation system with quiet precision, tightening or loosening the rope depending on your state of alignment. And here's the strangest part. The closer you get, the more familiar everything starts to feel. Not exciting, not shocking, just profoundly right. The body softens, the chest warms, the breath deepens. That's how you know the pull is real, because truth doesn't create adrenaline, it creates peace. Your somatic intelligence becomes the bridge between timelines, confirming what your mind would question. And every time you follow that quiet pull, instead of forcing outcomes, you step accomplished. You stop chasing signs and start walking with them, because the rope, once faint, becomes a steady guidance system, a soul's GPS, pulling you precisely where your electromagnetic signature already belongs. And once you understand this, something powerful happens. You stop trying to lead the process. You start letting yourself be led. And that shift, subtle, humble, sovereign, is what prepares you for the next truth. Not every signal is real, and not everything that feels like a sign is actually coming from the future. Some signals are echoes, and some are just noise. One of the greatest turning points in a quantum leap is learning to discern true signals from mind-made noise. Most people think every coincidence is a sign, every sudden emotion is intuition, every spark of excitement is guidance. But in the quantum field, not everything that glitters is a message. When your frequency begins to shift, your mind panics. It hates the unknown, it craves control, and so it starts manufacturing signs to give itself a sense of direction. These false signals usually arrive with a rush. Adrenaline, urgency, euphoria. They feel like a sugar high, not a soul truth. That's the giveaway. The mind tries to excite you. The future self tries to settle you. A real signal, one that comes from your future reality, your higher self, or your upgraded timeline, has a completely different texture. It doesn't spike your nervous system, it quiets it. It doesn't create urgency, it creates recognition. It feels like slipping into warm water, like the moment you exhale after holding your breath without realizing it. True signals create somatic truth, that unmistakable physical sensation of calm expansion in the chest, a softening in the belly, a grounded certainty in the body. It's not, finally it's happening. It's, there you are. No fireworks, no adrenaline, just coherence. And coherence is the native language of your quantum self. False signals, on the other hand, are loud, glittery, dramatic. They come with an inner grasping, the feeling that you must take action immediately or you'll miss your chance. That emotional spike is not alignment. It's scarcity dressed as intuition. The anxious mind tries to mimic spiritual signs because it fears surrender. It wants validation more than truth. These faux messages often leave you feeling drained afterward, or disappointed, or confused. They rise fast and collapse even faster. They create the illusion of progress while pulling you out of your frequency. That's why distinguishing them is crucial, because every false signal leads you back into the timeline you're trying to leave behind. The trick is simple but profound. Don't look at the content of the signal. Look at the nervous system response it triggers. Your body is the lie detector for the quantum field. If your chest tightens, if your breath gets shallow, if your energy spikes upward, if you feel euphoric without grounding, that's mind-made noise. If your breath deepens, if your shoulders relax, if your awareness expands outward, if you feel strangely safe, that's a real echo from your future. Your higher self will never communicate in panic. It communicates through quiet inevitability. And the more you listen to those subtle cues, the more the field stabilizes and the louder the true signals become. And as this discernment sharpens, you begin to realize something extraordinary. The universe isn't testing you, it's training your frequency. It's teaching you to hear the difference between the old identity shouting and the new identity whispering. And once you can hear the whisper clearly, you're finally ready for the next shift, the moment when you learn to receive true signals without reacting to them, without grabbing, without forcing, but instead with sovereign calm. There's a subtle art that almost no one masters on their first quantum leap, the ability to receive a true signal without reacting to it. Most people sabotage their own alignment right at the finish line. They spend weeks tuning their frequency, aligning their nervous system, anchoring coherence, and then, the moment a real sign appears, they grab it with both hands as if it were a fragile miracle that might vanish. That grasping energy, tight, urgent, hungry, immediately snaps them back into the vibration of lack. It's like catching the first sprout in a garden and ripping it out of the soil because you're excited it's growing. The universe doesn't need you to celebrate the sprout, it needs you to protect the soil. Sovereign reception is what happens when you meet a true signal the way a king or queen receives an offering, with calm acknowledgement, not desperation. It's the inner nod, the slow exhale, the of course. This is not arrogance, it's alignment. A sovereign doesn't gasp when the inevitable unfolds. They recognize it as the natural result of their frequency. Your future self doesn't communicate to shock you, it communicates to synchronize you. That's why real signals feel familiar, not dramatic, and sovereign reception is simply staying in that familiarity long enough for the field to weave the signal into form. The reason this skill matters so much is because the quantum field responds to your state, not your reactions. When you overanalyze a sign, you introduce noise. When you chase it, you distort your frequency. When you cling to it, you reaffirm the belief that it's rare. But when you receive it with neutrality, steady breath, relaxed chest, anchored presence, you amplify the exact vibration that brought the signal to you. This is the paradox. The less you react, the more reality responds. The quieter you are, the louder the field becomes. Sovereignty is not passive. It's profoundly magnetic. Think of yourself as the quantum gardener again. When the first sprouts break through the soil, you don't scream, dig them up, or rearrange the garden. You simply keep tending the ground that made them possible. That's sovereign reception. It's trusting the process more than the proof. It's allowing the echo of future reality to land gently in your system without turning it into a dopamine spike. It's letting the signal confirm your alignment, not define it. Because the moment you stop treating signs as rare events, you step into the timeline where they're normal, where alignment is your baseline, and evidence becomes a daily occurrence. And as you stabilize in that sovereignty, something extraordinary happens. Your reality stops feeling like something you're manifesting and starts feeling like something you're remembering. That's the threshold where the leap accelerates, where you shift from reacting to reality to shaping it. And that shift prepares you for the next phase, integrating the body, anchoring the frequency, and turning alignment into identity. There comes a point in every quantum transition when the mind has understood the shift, the energy has responded to the shift, but the body still needs to catch up. This is where most people slip, because they try to leap into a new reality using an old nervous system. Integration isn't mental, it's somatic. It's the process of letting your physical form become fluent in the frequency you've been tuning into. Without this step, the quantum leap can't stabilize. Your body is the vessel that holds the vibration, and until it feels safe in the new frequency, your manifestations remain conceptual instead of embodied. Integration is where the timeline becomes real. That's why creating a ritual of integration is essential. It doesn't have to be elaborate. It just has to anchor the frequency into your system so your body recognizes the new timeline as home. Sometimes it's as simple as closing your eyes and letting the breath settle into a slow, grounded rhythm. Sometimes it's placing a hand on your chest and whispering, "I feel the pull." Not as an affirmation, but as a declaration, a somatic permission slip for your future self to merge with your present identity. This kind of ritual isn't about convincing yourself of anything. It's about teaching your nervous system that the new frequency is safe, familiar, and sustainable. Integration also shows up in how you move through your day. When you feel that subtle shift, that deeper calm, that quiet clarity, that's not coincidence. That's your electromagnetic field stabilizing. You might notice you're less reactive, less easily pulled back into old patterns, less entangled in noise. Even your posture begins to change. You breathe differently. You walk with a little more presence. You listen more deeply. These are not small changes. They're signs that your timeline is crystallizing in the physical dimension. The quantum field responds instantly, but the body requires repetition. Every time you ground the frequency, you reinforce the bridge between worlds. And that's the purpose of a ritual, to remind your system of who you're becoming until it no longer feels like becoming, just being. When you whisper, "I feel the pull," what you're really saying is, "I remember where I'm going." It's a handshake between timelines. A moment of coherence where the signal from your future self lands in your chest and your body echoes it back. This is how your frequency becomes stable enough for your reality to shift around you. Integration turns the invisible tow rope into something you can actually feel, steady, familiar, unshakable. And once your body is fully synced, you're no longer practicing alignment, you're living it, which leads you into the next transformation. The moment you stop acting like a seeker and start embodying the architect of your own reality. There is a moment, quiet, subtle, but unmistakably powerful, when you stop trying to become the version of yourself you desire and finally recognize that you are that version. This is the identity shift that marks the true quantum leap. It happens not when your external reality changes, but when your internal reference point does. For most of your journey, you've moved through life as a seeker, searching for signs, chasing alignment, hoping for confirmation that the universe is listening. But the moment you align with your future self, something profound clicks. You stop seeking because you finally understand that what you were looking for was never outside of you. It was broadcasting from within your own electromagnetic field the entire time. The seeker identity operates from separation. I want what I don't have. The architect identity operates from resonance. I stabilize what I already am. This shift doesn't happen through force. It happens through familiarity. After enough echoes of future reality, enough somatic truth, enough synchronicities that land like déjà vu, your nervous system begins to trust the new frequency more than the old story. The timeline you once desired becomes the one you naturally inhabit. You start making decisions not from fear or hope, but from coherence. The architect doesn't wait for the universe to validate their direction. They move because they can feel the pull of the invisible tow rope with certainty. This new identity expresses itself in your smallest behaviors. You speak differently, not louder, but clearer. You don't over-explain your intuition because you don't need external permission to follow it. You rest more, not out of laziness, but because your nervous system is no longer addicted to urgency. You stop chasing signs and start receiving them as natural confirmations of your frequency. Even your posture begins to change. You breathe differently. You walk with a little more presence. You listen more deeply. These are not small changes. They're signs that your timeline is crystallizing in the physical dimension. The quantum field responds instantly, but the body requires repetition. Every time you ground the frequency, you reinforce the bridge between worlds. And that's the purpose of a ritual, to remind your system of who you're becoming until it no longer feels like becoming, just being. When you whisper, "I feel the pull," what you're really saying is, "I remember where I'm going."
It's a handshake between timelines. A moment of coherence where the signal from your future self lands in your chest and your body echoes it back. This is how your frequency becomes stable enough for your reality to shift around you. Integration turns the invisible tow rope into something you can actually feel, steady, familiar, unshakable. And once your body is fully synced, you're no longer practicing alignment, you're living it, which leads you into the next transformation. The moment you stop acting like a seeker and start embodying the architect of your own reality. There is a moment, quiet, subtle, but unmistakably powerful, when you stop trying to become the version of yourself you desire and finally recognize that you are that version. This is the identity shift that marks the true quantum leap. It happens not when your external reality changes, but when your internal reference point does. For most of your journey, you've moved through life as a seeker, searching for signs, chasing alignment, hoping for confirmation that the universe is listening. But the moment you align with your future self, something profound clicks. You stop seeking because you finally understand that what you were looking for was never outside of you. It was broadcasting from within your own electromagnetic field the entire time. The seeker identity operates from separation. I want what I don't have. The architect identity operates from resonance. I stabilize what I already am. This shift doesn't happen through force. It happens through familiarity. After enough echoes of future reality, enough somatic truth, enough synchronicities that land like déjà vu, your nervous system begins to trust the new frequency more than the old story. The timeline you once desired becomes the one you naturally inhabit. You start making decisions not from fear or hope, but from coherence. The architect doesn't wait for the universe to validate their direction. They move because they can feel the pull of the invisible tow rope with certainty. This new identity expresses itself in your smallest behaviors. You speak differently, not louder, but clearer. You don't over-explain your intuition because you don't need external permission to follow it. You rest more, not out of laziness, but because your nervous system is no longer addicted to urgency. You stop chasing signs and start receiving them as natural confirmations of your frequency. Even your posture begins to change. You breathe differently. You walk with a little more presence. You listen more deeply. These are not small changes. They're signs that your timeline is crystallizing in the physical dimension. The quantum field responds instantly, but the body requires repetition. Every time you ground the frequency, you reinforce the bridge between worlds. And that's the purpose of a ritual, to remind your system of who you're becoming until it no longer feels like becoming, just being. When you whisper, "I feel the pull," what you're really saying is, "I remember where I'm going." It's a handshake between timelines. A moment of coherence where the signal from your future self lands in your chest and your body echoes it back. This is how your frequency becomes stable enough for your reality to shift around you. Integration turns the invisible tow rope into something you can actually feel, steady, familiar, unshakable. And once your body is fully synced, you're no longer practicing alignment, you're living it, which leads you into the next transformation. The moment you stop acting like a seeker and start embodying the architect of your own reality. There is a moment, quiet, subtle, but unmistakably powerful, when you stop trying to become the version of yourself you desire and finally recognize that you are that version. This is the identity shift that marks the true quantum leap. It happens not when your external reality changes, but when your internal reference point does.